Star Wars Outlaws' new creative director promises big changes after disappointing sales. This is the first time I can think of a time where a non-live service game has gotten a new game director post-launch. Now, in this case, I think what's happening, people have said, oh, well, they were really unhappy with the way the last guy did it, and so they're kicking him to the curb and they're bringing in a new guy. I'm not actually sure if that's what it is. My understanding is that the guy that did direct this has just been moved to work on The Division. So they're just off doing that. They're working on The Division 3. So I don't think it's that they're trying to clean house or anything. I think it's just that he's moving on. They brought somebody else in to try and salvage some of Star Wars Outlaws. But the new guy's name is Drew Reckner, and he's promising big changes after the open world adventure debuted to disappointing sales. He said in the update that Ubisoft had, quote, been gathering and actioning players' feedback since launch and has identified key areas where it can elevate the game experience to better meet player expectations. Sentiments such as these are often seen in the wake of a disastrous game launch, such as Star Wars Outlaws, despite it debuting to positive reviews. Poor sales shook a struggling Ubisoft, however, and it is now working to improve the game ahead of what it hopes to be a sales bump alongside its Steam launch headed into the holidays. What they're trying to do is on the 21st of this month, they're going to have a big update where they allegedly will fix a lot of stuff, okay? Like a lot of stuff. They're going to try to revamp the AI. They're going to try to revamp some of the combat stuff. They're going to try to fix a lot of the lip syncing issues. They're going to fix some of the cutscenes, things like that. You can see update 1.3 arrived in October and brought a handful of big changes of its own, including improvements to stealth. Players were given more flexibility in how they approach situations alongside upgraded enemy activity to make gameplay feel more realistic. All of that's really solid, cool. But they aim to have this update on the 21st be like a total revamp that really fleshes out the game. So you can see the first key area of improvement to the game is combat, where we can see real opportunity to add more depth and excitement to the experience, further rewarding your tactics and precision. Our second key area is stealth, which is not only about improving readability and consistency of enemy detection, but also providing choice in how you approach each encounter. And finally, our third key area of focus is centered around the character controls, which means improving the reliability of cover, increasing the responsiveness of climbing and crouching, and generally improving the consistency of the controls overall. I think when this is done, assuming they fix the stealth, which was like my biggest issue with Star Wars Outlaws, was that it was buggy, and it also, like, the AI was so dumb. You could walk up to a guard, slam him with a fist in the side of the head. He flops to the ground, and somebody standing 2.5 feet next to him doesn't hear a thing. Like, it immediately took you out of any sense of immersion you had. It made the stealth kind of a joke. It wasn't good. It was really frustrating and disappointing. But they apparently are going to revamp it. And if they do, this then goes from, for me, like a 6. It starts climbing the ladder, maybe to like a 7. I think in my TLDW on my review, I said, if you play it on the hardest difficulty, you are less likely to notice the bad AI because they deal so much damage. You just have to run around quickly dealing with stuff. So if you play on the hardest difficulty, it feels like a 7. It's fine. If you play on anything else, it's like a 6. And I stand by that. The bugs also ding it by like another point. So if they fix the bugs, if they fix the stealth and AI and stuff, then okay, I think we're in the realm of like, oh, it's good. I still had fun with it. I wish I played the game not buggy and busted, but it had some really fun ideas. Like the idea that you're just walking around Mos Eisley and you can hear 2 NPCs talking about where they stashed something. And if you know where that something is, you can go and find it. And it's really good loot that you wouldn't have found otherwise. Or all of these other, like the realization of Mos Eisley in an open world setting, really well done. I mean, it was not in concept bad. It was just the execution left a lot to be desired because it was rushed out. So I really hope that these updates actually do change something and do overhaul it. And, you know, going to Steam is also a good move. Like, this is the thing. Everybody, we like bashing companies when they screw up, and Ubisoft can make it easy, certainly. But part of critiquing anybody or anything is also commending them when they make a correct move and a correct decision. Going to Steam is a good move. Fixing the game, yes, it should have been like this at launch, but nonetheless, fixing it instead of abandoning it is a good move. And if they are able to fix it, if they're able to put it up on Steam and you can pick it up on a sale, if it's a good game at that point, like, props. Cool. Like, I'm glad to see it. It's really healthy for the industry to have more competition. And so I hope Ubisoft figures their stuff out so that there's more competition. Nobody should be rooting for any company to implode or have any issues. We should be rooting for them to figure their crap out and stop screwing up so much. Whether they can is a separate question, but you know, time will tell. I don't see Ubisoft investing tons of time into a non-live game. I mean, I guess it sort of depends on how you define live, because they have live elements with some of their games that they've put a ton of time and money into. Like it doesn't look like Beyond Good and Evil 2 will have very many, if any, live elements in it. But that game probably has, I mean, the budget's got to be in the hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. The problem with Ubisoft is that they just pick and choose their battles so weirdly. Like they're spending years working on an NFT game that has 250 something million dollar microtransactions in it, but then they can all this other, like these other projects that have a lot of potential, and then they rush out these other games for no reason. Like they just have really, really weird priorities. Perry, thank you for the 10. That seems like the common Ubisoft mood. Make a mediocre game first, then fix it later. Happened with Ghost Recon Breakpoint, happened with Division 1, and now Star Wars Outlaws. When will they learn? They claim they've learned now, but they also claim this back with Breakpoint. The problem for them is what Yves Guillemot said in that statement after Star Wars Outlaws launched, when they announced they were delaying AC. He said, we typically launch our games with, in a solid state. But then he said, and there's often points of friction, is how he phrased it, points of friction that we fix after launch. And I was like, that's a really weird way of phrasing it. Because what he's saying is that we typically launch our games with bugs and we fix it later because people are willing to tolerate the bugs to a certain extent, and then we polish it up after the game goes out. And then in this statement he put out, he was like, yeah, and it seems like that's different now. We can't do that anymore. And I agree. Like, I don't think it ever should have been that way. But that's the thing, is like Ubisoft got away with it for a long time. You could get away with it for a long time. And now, like, they've just destroyed their goodwill so much that nobody's willing to tolerate it anymore. You can get away with it for a bit, but each time you do it, there's more damage done to your brand each and every single time. And it seems like it finally caught up with them. He took my thing.